Chairman broke the rules and violated the rules of this committee to try to
I
silence
don't want to do that, but I want you to.
And I understand why you interrupt me in the middle of this email, because it is so extreme that I recognize, Mr. Chairman, you don't want the American people to hear what's in this email.
I'm not afraid of what you're going to say. I'm just wondering if it's going to come to an end soon.
It's going to come to an end soon. It would have been sooner without the interruption, but it will come to an end soon.
At first, this sounds like a routine dispute over speaking time in a Senate hearing. But the moment Ted Cruz starts reading the nominees, past comments comparing police to the KKK, the entire tone of the room shifts. The interruption immediately raises a bigger question about whether politically damaging information was being cut off, or whether committee rules were simply being enforced in a tense hearing. But this exchange quickly becomes about something larger, whether past activist rhetoric should matter for someone seeking power inside the Department of Justice. And that's why moments like this resonate far beyond the hearing room itself. If you want political analysis that breaks down the substance instead of just fueling outrage, you're in the right place.
Student at Columbia. She helped organize a conference. On the left, and I have in front of me an article from FoxNews.com dated April 9th, 2021, the title of which is New Findings Show Biden DOJ Nominee Organized Conference Championing Cop Killers. And Mr. Chairman, I'd ask unanimous consent to enter this article on the record as well.
Without objection.
This article goes through transcripts from the hearing, from the conference, rather, that she organized. The conference was entitled, quote, Racing Justice, and it featured speakers defending, celebrating, and lionizing one after the other cop killers, people who had murdered police officers, describing them as political prisoners. Convicted cop killer Mumia Abu-Jabal, convicted cop killer Mutula Shakur, convicted cop killer Sundiata Akoli, and Tom Manning. Not only that, they also referred to as a political prisoner Susan Rosenberg, who was convicted of transporting multiple illegal firearms and over 740 pounds of explosives. Ms. Rosenberg was also a member of the American Communist Terrorist Group, the May 19th communist organization that bombed the United States Capitol on November 7th, 1983. We've heard lots of Democratic members of this body speaking in high dudgeon about the terrorist attack that all of us experienced on January 6th of this year. And yet, Ms. Rosenberg actually carried out a communist attack that bombed the United States Capitol. And what did Ms. Clarke do? Organize a conference celebrating someone who bombed the United States Capitol as a political prisoner. That's extreme. That's radical. By the way, I will point out, Mr. Blumenthal spoke just a moment ago about anti-Semitism. At that same conference, one of these radical speakers downplayed and diminished the Holocaust, in her remarks saying, quote, it was only 6 million Jews killed in the camps and prisons of Germany and Poland. That's reprehensible. That's the kind of vicious anti-Semitism, sadly, we see on the extreme left and the extreme right. But Ms. Clarke organized that conference. That was one of the speakers at her conference. And if you say, well, maybe those are not her views. I have in front of me an email she sent on June 25th, 1999. It says, I'm going to read in relevant part, whoever thinks chattel slavery is gone is not with us in the real world. Some aspects of it have changed, like cars, modernized for the times. The old chains are now less visible, fitted by the media and schools and laws. The plantations are called plants or factories, or whatever they call the myriad squalid money-making machines in which the rulers exploit black people and the whole working class. The Klan is now the police, with blue uniforms replacing the sheets and hoods. The corrupt, racist judges are petty Klan administrators.
Senator,
the Kliegels of the bourgeois state, Klavan.
Senator, before you arrived this morning, we asked members to try to confine their remarks to 10 minutes. And virtually all of
I'm nearing the end of my
breaking that
remarks,
standard.
and I recognize the last time we had a hearing, the chairman broke the rules and violated the rules of this committee to try
don't
to
want to do
silence
that, but I
speaking.
want you to
And I
show-
understand why you interrupt me in the middle of this email, because it is so extreme
I'm
that
sure
I
you don't-
recognize, Mr. Chairman, you don't want the American people to hear what's in this email.
I have, without objection, put into record everything you've asked. I'm not afraid of what you're going to say. I'm just wondering if it's going to come to an end soon.
It's going to come to an end soon. It would have been sooner without the interruption, but it will come to an end soon. And now that we're at it, I would ask unanimous consent to enter this email into the record.
Without objection.
So what I was reading when the chairman interrupted me, the corrupt, racist judges are petty Klan administrators. The Kliegels of the bourgeois states Klaven, their courts. The midnight torch-burning torture sessions before the neck-stretching and black corpse burning. To each of my Democratic colleagues on this committee, Ms. Clarke, in writing, said, I want to read the sentence that on this copy is highlighted. The Klan is now the police, with blue uniforms replacing the sheets and hoods. You do not get to pretend you are defenders of law enforcement when you vote to confirm someone who describes police officers as the Klan and who has advocated repeatedly in writing for abolishing the police. This is radical, this is extreme, and the Democratic senators on this committee know that, and yet you are giving in to the crazy, angry left in your party. I ask you to pull back. I ask you to think of what your constituents want. How many of your constituents agree with this statement? And to each of you, I suggest be prepared when you return home. The people of Illinois do not agree with the statement, the Klan is now the police, with blue uniforms replacing the sheets and hoods. And this committee should not confirm someone who said such a thing to be a senior official at the Department of Justice.
As the Senate hearing intensified, Ted Cruz shifted the focus directly onto Kristen Clarke's past activism, laying out concerns about a conference she helped organize called Racing Justice. Cruz pointed to speakers connected to convicted cop killers and controversial political movements, saying those associations raised serious questions about judgment and suitability for a senior role inside the Department of Justice. But the exchange became far more charged when Cruz began reading past comments in which Clarke compared police to the KKK. The language immediately changed the atmosphere in the room because of how politically explosive those comparisons remain, especially in debates surrounding law enforcement and racial justice. Critics view those remarks as disqualifying for a DOJ nominee, while supporters see them within the broader context of activism and criticism of systemic policing practices. The tension escalated further when Chairman Dick Durbin interrupted Cruz while he was reading the statements aloud, citing committee time limits. That moment quickly became part of the controversy itself because attention shifted from procedure back to the substance of the comments and whether the interruption unintentionally amplified their political impact. At its core, this hearing reflects a broader national debate over how much weight past rhetoric, activism, and political associations should carry when someone is being considered for a powerful government position. And that's why exchanges like this continue to resonate far beyond the Senate chamber. If you want political analysis focused on context, substance, and real implications instead of just outrage, you're in the right place.